Welcome to the second episode of Unleashed. I waited, I paused, I wanted to hear what people had to say. We are going to start with coaches this week. But families, this is just as much for you as it is for them. So listen up carefully. Coaches have a thankless job at the end of the day. They are expected to do a lot with pennies to the dollar when they're paying themselves. And not that that's what they're there for. They're not there to receive a huge check, but the expectations are high for what coaches are asked. So, with that said, there are four C's that I'd like to go through today that will make you a better coach. And for families, it'll set better expectations for them of why you do what you do and how you do what you do. So, four C's. The very first one, you got to coach them. I'm seeing too many coaches that are getting the best players, but they're not teaching them. They're not coaching them. And that's a huge frustration for families. Take time to tell them why you're coaching what you're coaching and then watch them grow. Tell them that they're growing, show them that they're growing, but you got to coach them up and you got to do it often. The second thing you got to do, you got to connect with them. A connection point outside of the sport is so incredibly important. Get to know them as kids. What do they love to do? How are they doing in school? How's family life? Get to know them so that they will trust you. I believe if they trust you, they will die on a hill for you. Do that extra work so that they're willing to do the thing that they need to do in a big moment and desire to do it for you. It's such a fun relationship that you get to have with a student athlete. The third thing you got to do, you got to communicate with them. If you're making changes, if you're changing what they're used to doing, you got to tell them why. And when you do that, things will get so much better for you. Make a family phone call, have them come over after a practice and have a conversation with them, but communicate. When they know what's going on, the amount of energy that might be built up will lower. And that's what we ultimately want. We want them to be at a low level anytime that they're talking to us, and communication is key to that end. So take time to communicate when changes are being made, when practices are being had, what those practices should look like, your weekend of games, what should we expect out of that, and when things change, you got to communicate about it. And the last thing, and it's the most fun thing, but it's important that we recognize it. You got to celebrate with them. You got to celebrate the little wins and you got to celebrate the big wins. And all of those little things mean a ton to both the family and the student athlete. So take time to celebrate, have fun. We always say when you win, the kids get all the glory in that. They get to celebrate, and it was because of them that happened. And when they lose, we got to do better as coaches. But take time for the wins. Celebrate those wins. Be with them in the wins. Families, recognize the effort that the coaches are taking. Take time to say thank you to them. Let them know that they matter and they're important, because the thankless job gets old. But when they get the thank yous, it continues to bring them back with renewed energy. That would be my biggest thing for you. So with that, the four C's: coach them up, connect with them, communicate with them, and then finally celebrate with them. Families, I'm curious to hear from you. Did I miss something? What else do we need to talk about that has to happen with a coach? Coaches, did I miss something? Is there something we need to add to this list that would make you better? And I realize these are really global statements, but they should be. There's a lot inside of each one of these things, but each one of them specifically are important to the success of you as a coach and the student athletes in whom you get to coach. What a great responsibility you have in front of you. Let's make sure you're doing that to the very best of your ability. This is episode number 2 of Unleashed. We'll see you soon.